Blessed Day Reflection by Abia listeners. My name is Abia Grant, and we are here to reflect on our life journey. We will be discussing topics related to self awareness, self improvement, and mental health. Also, the purpose of this safe space is for us to be free to discuss the ups and downs, celebrate the wins, and talk about ways to improve the lows. So, welcome to this podcast, and I hope you gain something from this time we share together. Hello everyone, how are you doing? It is your girl Abia Grant. Welcome back to another episode of Reflection by Abia. I hope that you are doing well and that you are having a blessed day. I am having a pretty good day. So, if you are new to this podcast, Reflection by Abia is a podcast where I talk about mental health. I talk about self awareness. I talk about self improvement. This podcast really just focuses on trying to create a better us and gets into a lot of discussions about just being present in how we are feeling or the things that we are going through and having conversation about it. I think it's very important that we open up so that we can find, the tools in order to resolve, whatever we may be going through, or just me having conversations about certain experiences that I've had. Maybe you've had a similar situation, so you can therefore relate to what I'm talking about. That's pretty much what the podcast is about. So, like I said, if you are new, I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, but if you are new, that is what the podcast is about. And if you are a returning listener, thank you for coming back and listening to my podcast. I definitely appreciate it and the support and everything. So in this episode, I wanted to talk about basically redefining success. I wanted to talk about the piece that I think we often look to have when we think about success, and as well, pretty much, I guess you could say, creating that perfect life. Like, if we reach all the milestones in our life, would our life still be perfect? Or, I don't want to say, the thing is, like, I'm saying perfect, but like, is our life ideal? And the reason why I wanted to get into this conversation was because this past weekend I was on vacation, and one of the things hope that you guys have taken vacation. But one of the things I noticed is that when you are on vacation, this gives you the opportunity to think more clearly. And I had the opportunity this week to take some time to really think about my life, my journey, where I'm at now, where I was before, what do I want for the future. I've keep mentioning, I think I mentioned the past couple of episodes how we're going into the new year and just what I want for this, this next journey, this next new year and just future. And like I said, I just was thinking about this while I was on vacation, because I had time just to really sit down and think and not be on a go, go, go kind of state. So these are kind of the questions that I was taking or thinking about on this vacation. And I know vacation is supposed to be relaxing, and it was very much relaxing. But again, like I said, these questions came up in my head. And this kind of came up more towards the end of my vacation, I think, because my body knew, okay, I have to return back to life and get back into, the grind and everything. One of the questions that came up is, what does peace mean to me in success? So that was one of the questions. Then the next question that came up in my mind is, does everything have to be perfectly aligned for you to feel at peace? Okay. Then the next question that came up is, does fulfillment influence peace? And these are the things that were running through my head, in addition to other questions as well too. So lately, as I mentioned before, I've been thinking about myself, and I am basically thinking about my journey and the specific place that I, want to get to. Now, one of the things that I was trying to figure out this past week is, what is that final destination? Like, when is it going to be good enough? When am I going to be happy enough? When am I going to meet all the things that I want for myself enough? Like, when can I just chill? And that is where I was. It's like, where does it get to a point where I don't have to work anymore? Like, all the effort that I put into a certain situation, or all the things that I want for myself, that they've manifested itself, and I just don't have to grind anymore. I could just be, I guess you could say, live a life of coasting. And that is pretty much where I just was at. And I can honestly say I'm in a better place today than where I was on during that, I guess, that time that I took to really think about this. I'm in a better place because I've, pretty much made a decision. And we're going to get into that as we go through this notes for the podcast. So with that, I began to ponder on what it truly meant to me to do everything right and achieve success. Perhaps the choices that I made in the past were right for that moment and exactly what I needed at that time, but as life evolves and life changes, circumstances changes. This where we were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we're not at that same point in our life anymore. And sometimes we made decisions back then that was the decision that we needed to make in order to survive whatever we were going through. But maybe 2, 3, 4 years, whatever amount of time it is, you're no longer in that place, of you having to continue to make that decision, or follow through on that decision for years on end, or whatever, I said, period of time you are making a change. Maybe you don't need to have it be continuous. Maybe it comes to an end. And that is kind of like where I feel like you grow and you change as an individual, and situations that, again, were situations before are no longer situations now. And that's just, it's life. And we are always growing. I've mentioned that in other episodes, that we are consistently growing, and life is consistently changing. So therefore we have to change, with the times, or we may be in a situation in where our peace and our fulfillment is not in the place of where we want to be, or where we can thrive in, because we're holding ourselves back. You see what I'm saying? So that's just one of the things that I pretty much was pondering this week on my journey, and how that I am not in the same place as I was before. So one of the next questions I ask myself is, where do you want to be now? And then I follow that up with, are you reacting towards your life at this juncture with emotion? you know. And one of the things that, if you listen to my podcast, is I sometimes operate on emotions. I do not like a certain situation, or I want a different outcome, and I am driven by my emotional state of wanting change so much that I've operated, or I am moving in a place of emotion, and not a place with actual thought and taking time to really ponder my the choice that I want to make for myself. I think it's very important when you sometimes, I'm going to just say in my situation, in the situation that I am going through, this is something that I have been contemplating over the past year. I want to say give or take. And maybe later on in a future episode, I'll get into what it is. But I feel that we sometimes go through this where we have just it just keeps popping up in our head. We keep thinking about it. We keep wanting there to be change, and it just doesn't go away. And that's just kind of like where my headspace has been like me considering this situation on a continuous basis, and me, I guess you could say, trying to find fulfillment, trying to find peace within the choice that I have made for myself, and the restructuring of my life that I have made for myself. But although I have sat on it and seeing, okay, if my feelings are going to, or not necessarily my feelings, is the situation going to get any better? It has not. So you have to think about, I guess you could say, are you comfortable with what it is, or do you want to see progress in the situation? And this is the thing also at the same time, where you may not be bad. It's not like what I'm going through right now, it's bad. It's just not what I want. You know what I mean? And I feel that I have worked so hard on my journey to not take less than what I want. I should always want to be doing the best that I can do with whatever it may be. You know what I mean? So if you are in a place in your life where you feel like you're being held back, where you feel like you don't have a voice, where you feel that you are, I don't, I guess I want to say stagnant, but then I kind of don't want to say stagnant, because I feel like you could still grow even outside of that situation, but you just feel like you want to give more. Just see something different for yourself. Ponder it, think about it. See if you can possibly change certain situations or certain elements in that situation to make it better. If I feel like if you can't change it, then you have to think, okay, well, again, am I willing to deal with X, Y, and Z, or do I want to see do I want, to step out of this situation, see what else is going to come about? But before we go ahead and continue with this episode, let's go ahead and get into the housekeeping rules. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, be sure to hit the follow and notification button so Spotify lets you know when I release a new episode. As well, leave me a comment on what you enjoy about the podcast and give me a 5-star rating. This is how you can support my podcast. And the disclaimer is, I am not a licensed psychiatrist or therapist. My suggestions and my guests are based on general knowledge and life experiences. If you are considering making significant changes or dealing with personal issues, seek and talk to a licensed mental health professional. So let's go ahead and continue this episode. So one of the things that I realized is that it came to mind that the growth that I've experienced on my journey has shifted my outlook. I am no longer operating in a way that puts me last or puts my family last. I'm also in a place where I am rethinking what my journey is and the success, or what success looks like for me. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Reflection by Abia. Feel free to check out the podcast Facebook and Instagram page. The links will be available in the show notes. Let's get back to the podcast. Where my life is at right now, I've also worked on the physical and mental health. I've gotten to a place where I feel like I'm being more I'm practicing more self-care to myself. I've also reached a lot of personal growth, I can say, and relationships have changed. And I feel in the past this is something that was not present. This was something that I had to work on in this journey that I'm now in. Now I feel like I want to focus on finding personal fulfillment. But I'm also, or at least in the time that I was on vacation, I did not want to lose sight of the things that I worked on before. I do not want to give up or stop working at the things that I worked on before because I've got into such a good place. But I also realize that the goals that I want to reach, I'm very passionate about these goals. This is not something where I'm like a one-off kind of situation where I talked about in the past where I'll do something, or I think I talked about it last week's episode, I'll do something for a period of time and then I'll just give up. It's not that. It's something that I just really see for myself and I want for myself, and I think that I will be in a happier, more at peace within myself. So as you can hear, growth has helped me change, and with that change comes a new way of seeing what really matters now. And now, this is the thing. What matters now may not matter in the future. So, with that, I'm also, even though I'm in a better place than where I was a couple of weeks ago in regards into how I feel, I just want to make sure that I don't mess up my future. I want to make sure that I am not, again, thinking in an emotional place, and making decisions that is right, that I could see progress in. And I guess you could say that I'm trying to minimize the fear. Fear always creeps into situations that we don't know what the outcome is going to be, or we are trying to make changes but afraid to make the changes because, again, we fear what those changes may result in. So it's kind of like I'm in a weird place, I guess you can say. But what I also realize is that my happiness and allowing for me to truly examine my life, that I have to be happy. Like, I know I just repeated myself, but I have to, this is my life. Like, this is my journey, and whatever that I do, I should want to be happy. I should not be doing anything that doesn't make me feel like I am living the perfect life that I want for myself. At the same time, I'm thinking again, what is that perfect life like? And I think that what I'm probably may have to do is sit down and write this down, and I have certain elements and things that I want to implement, but I think this may be a place where I have to sit down because I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and really write out my life and the journey that I see for myself, outside of just a couple of things. But at the end of the day, my peace has shifted. What again has brought me peace before, it's not bringing me peace now. But at the same time, it's okay because I'm okay. I'm okay. But I know that I want more. So I wanted to get into kind of like the definitions or try to answer some of these questions because, as you know, I am a question or um contemplating life kind of person. The first question that I had was, what does peace mean to me? And I jotted it down here. Peace means to me being okay with where you are without wishing for a different path or feeling incomplete while you're searching for something more. And that is kind of like where I'm at, where I feel like I'm searching for more. That I am okay in this moment, but I want more. I want to be happy more. And then I also look at like sometimes certain situations, the choice that you made in your past. Sometimes certain situations you were supposed to make that choice so that you could see the choice that you made and the outcome that has resulted so that you can learn from it. And that's where I kind of feel like in this stage is that the choice that I've made, or I don't want to say or, but the choice that I have made, now I know the outcome. And it again, the outcome was okay for what I needed at that moment. But now that outcome is no longer, or the things that I asked for myself is, it's different. Life is different. Where I'm at is different. I'm not, again, the same person as I was before. So the next question that I has is, does everything in your life need to be perfectly aligned for you to feel at peace? And does fulfillment influence peace? So I jotted down here, in my opinion, peace can only be experienced when you reach a state of completeness. However, fulfillment plays a crucial role in this process, as it can be pursued through both internal and external sources. When fulfillment is lacking, it creates a misalignment between your reality and your desires, disrupting your sense of peace. Thus, peace and fulfillment must work hand in hand, that will support and reinforce. So, with that, I basically feel like life life has to be aligned with the way that you want life to be aligned. The way that you may want it to be may be different than the way that I want it to be. So you have to think about what works for you. And I also want to say in that space is, sometimes you may have discussions with folk just to get their opinion, just to see what they think about the situation. And what I have realized is that what again works for someone else in their situation may not work for you. And again, I know I'm repeating myself with what I said before, but I just want to kind of like hone in on that, is that we do seek advice from others. I've talked to other people about what I am experiencing, and I've gotten different opinions from different people. But ultimately, I have to do what's right for myself. And more so, I guess you could say, I've talked to people to get counsel. And I think it's very important to get counsel and different perspectives and come to the conclusion of what you need to do for yourself. But doesn't necessarily mean that you need to follow what someone says. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's scary. Again, it's scary to be okay and then you turn around and you start shifting the pieces. But I honestly just feel life is about shifting the pieces. You should You should shift the pieces if it's necessary for your peace of mind, if it's necessary for your peace of happiness. And I don't think that we should not be fulfilled. I think that always, we should want what we want, and we should try to get as much as what we want. Long as it's not anything crazy, long as you're not hurting somebody else, or yourself, you should be fulfilled. I just don't think people should walk around in this world feeling like I should have tried X, Y, and Z and not try X, Y, and Z, because you don't know what the possibilities or what the end will be. Today I guess you could say I am embracing a mindset shift. I've expressed, gratitude, and I've thanked God for, what he has given me, where he's gotten me to. And I am very grateful for that. And I think gratitude, I've spoke about that on other episodes, is very important. But at the same time, I'm expressing and asking for what I desire now. Now that things have changed, I'm saying, hey, can you sprinkle in X, Y, and Z to make it more perfect for me? Obviously, it's up to him to do that. But as long as I'm doing my part, then God willing, it will manifest itself. But also in that situation, what I've asked God for is to continue to give me balance, continue to lead me forward. Again, I've worked so hard at where I am now, and I don't want to introduce anything into my journey that's going to throw me off. That's not going to allow for me to continue with the way my life is, or be better than where my life is at now. So it's like, before I asked God for a certain situation or certain life, and I got that. He gave me what I wanted. But I realized again, I want to tweak that. I think that also at the same time, we have to be careful what we ask for. You know what I mean? We have to be careful what we ask for, because God tends to give you exactly what you ask for. So I'm being very careful and very, I want to say, melodic in what I am asking for. So I believe that, again, growth requires gratitude for what has been, and we have to have that courage to step forward. We have to be, or we don't have to be, but I choose to be very purposeful in my life. And I'm blessed. I am living my life as purposeful as it can be with what I've been given thus far. So with that, I also choose to embrace change and step into the next chapter of my life with excitement and in anticipation. Anticipation on whatever the outcome is going to be. And I know that the outcome is going to be awesome, because that is all that I'm going to ask for. I'm going to ask God to give me awesomeness. And that's just pretty much where I'm at in this whole life thing. This whole life thing is not very easy. And I, again, just want to make sure that I'm happy, and that I've worked really hard to get to a place of goodness. I don't want to rock the boat in the place of goodness, but I want excitement. I want to thrive. I want to I want things to be a little bit different. But yeah, guys, that is where I'm going to leave this week's podcast episode. I hope that this episode helped. I hope that the things that I'm going through this past week and this past couple of days, if you're going through a similar situation, that my advice, I hope that was advice. I hope that my advice has helped you. I know speaking about it and talking about how I feel and being vulnerable with you guys, it honestly truly helps me. Even though you're not sitting in front of me, being able to vocalize my thoughts is very therapeutic. So I hope that it was very therapeutic for you. You could always reach out to me, and do let you guys know I have my Instagram and I have my Facebook. So if you guys ever want to personally message me, maybe you don't want to post anything on the podcast on Spotify or the YouTube or, all the other places my podcast is broadcast to. Maybe you don't want to have discussion there. You can send me a message on Instagram. You can send me a message on Facebook. I try to be as active as I can on those platforms. I think community is very important in life. So if you ever just directly want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. And, we can have further discussion about, where you are and where I'm at. Or if you have further questions that you want to ask me about, we could get into discussion about that. But guys, I am done ranting. Let me go ahead and end this podcast episode. So stay blessed out there in those streets. Make sure that you treat others kindly out there in those streets. And God willing, I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Reflection by Abia. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about today's episode and share the podcast with your friends and family. The link will be available in the show notes.